Hello and welcome to this episode of Impact Network, brought to you by India Is Us Social Foundation. I am Pooja Grover Bhatnagar. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my guest today, Ms. Jaswant Kaur, a changemaker with a heart. In the development sector, Ms. Kaur needs no introduction. Finalist in the Amazing Indian Awards 2022, Ms. Kaur is a passionate CSR professional, an author and a columnist. Ms. Kaur is working with the Pilani Atmanirbhar Resource Center, an initiative by BITSA Alumni Trust. Pilani Atmanirbhar Resource Center, or PARC, is working to uplift the communities in and around the small city of Pilani by creating a whole ecosystem of skill training, entrepreneurship, creating job opportunities, working on health and education. Ms. Kaur has been working diligently in mobilizing all the stakeholders, bringing them together to bring real change on ground. Today, we interact with her to understand how she gets it all done. It's a pleasure to have you here, Ms. Jaswant.
Thank you so much, Pooja, for that introduction, and I'm really grateful to India Is Us for giving me this opportunity and presenting BITSA's work to such a larger audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's our pleasure you are here with us. And before we get into the technical aspects of the conversation today, we would love to know, who is Jaswant Kaur? What is it that drives her?
Okay, so as a person, I'm a mother. As a professional, I am a company secretary, a qualified company secretary. I have been writing a lot of columns as an author also, and a development sector professional. As a person, I have been questioning a lot of stereotypes which have been passed on to us from one generation to the other, more specifically related to the gender aspect of it. And it started from my home itself, and I want a safer, much better world for the girl child education and women. That's what drives me.
That's beautiful. And I believe you bring all of your value sets to PARC when you work with it. And PARC has been doing such tremendous work in the local communities. Please introduce us to PARC.
Okay, so basically PARC is a community initiative of BITSA Alumni Trust. So the full form of PARC is Pilani Atmanirbhar Resource Center. So if you segregate the entire term, you will see Atmanirbhar is very, very common in the word. Atmanirbhar is basically self-reliance. So all our projects, they are intended to promote self-reliance amongst the community. So the trust was founded in the year 2005 when the alumni of BITS Pilani, essentially the batch of 1975 to 80 batch, they had their silver jubilee. So you all can imagine, when we all are students, we all think of, going back to our institute after 25 years of our graduation. So we all think that what have we done for the community? And that's what the driving force for this trust was. They all thought like we should contribute towards BITS plan. Like the initial thought was to give back to BITS. But then what they noticed is that majority of the BITS Pilani alumni, they were contributing to BITS Pilani itself for their initiatives, their own programs. So they wanted to do something very different. So when they were staying in the BITS Pilani campus, when they were studying as students, so the thing was that they all was moved with a lot of people. So many people served them, including the mess workers, the cloth cleaner, the laundry man, then the gardeners. So many people were there, who actually served them, and they all thought that we should all work for this community, which has been largely neglected. And that's the driving force of this trust, and that's why it was formed.
That's beautiful. And in fact, if you see, this was in an alumni reunion when there's this set of people who had this spark of an idea to give back to the community. And today you stand like almost 20 years old as an organization, and it has been a long journey, birthed in a small idea one day. So why don't you take us through the genesis or the inception of it in terms of the technical aspects of how it came to be, and what has been the story of the origin of PARC?
Okay, so I mean, as I mentioned, it all started with informal conversations. So I have gone through a beautiful write-up which has been written by one of the trustees, and it's a very informally it's a very informal introduction basically. So they all got together somehow. If I can recollect and with myself, I was one person who was looking after where are my school friends after graduation. So similar way, they were also searching for their own the pairs, where are they all. So it all started with a small Yahoo group which was created, and so they all got together, and then they all started because some of the alumni, they had formed an NGO at that time, and they all moved like this is something which is going on great, and we should also do something very different. And that thought of making a difference to the community actually brought them together. And the first project that was started was basically a small social security scheme which was given for the mess workers. So the mess workers in BITS Pilani, they had served them throughout their tenure of their education, and they were still there at that time also when they visited the campus again. But what they noticed was that they are all casual workers. They don't have any social security or any support system. So that's when they all thought that we should have a small insurance scheme for all the social work, for the mess workers. So that's the first project that we all started with. And around 152 mess workers are insured into the scheme. So it's a life cover that has been given. So in case a mess worker comes across a mishappening and he's no more on this world, the family will get a lot of benefits. So that's the first project. And gradually when the entire the core team, they started digging deeper, like what are the issues that the community is facing. And presence of BITS Pilani itself is a huge thing in Pilani. So they all thought that how many students from these people, from the villages or from the community or from the mess workers or such people, they have gone into BITS. So it was only one person at that time, who had actually entered BITS Pilani, and then they had continued their education. And then they all thought that we should also think about such programs where, the getting into BITS becomes easier for the larger community. And the main ailments that were they found were basically lack of education system, lot of deficiencies in the government school education system, and that's what differentiated the students from the slums or from the rural areas and the community against the people who are coming from the elite communities. And that's where we all started with an education program. It all started with also a thought that we are not equipped enough to have our own programs implemented. So why not we collaborate with other organizations who have already devised a solution to such problems. It was not, the thought was that we should not reinvent the entire wheel. And that's where the aspect of collaboration came into. So first collaboration happened with Pratham. Pratham is a well-renowned organization. Second collaboration happened with HelpAge India. So that's how the entire the picture is right now. We have then collaborated with Agastya Foundation for promoting science education among government schools. Then we had collaborated with student-driven volunteer organization which was already operational in BITS Pilani, which was Nirman, and then NSS BITS Pilani. So which all they harness the power of students. They harness the energy of the students, and then they towards promoting change in the community.
Okay. That is really beautiful. Like you've mentioned how the alumni actually worked on identifying a problem and then bringing together experts in the industry to help them solve the problem together. And in fact, we would like to lean on you a little more to understand what have been the key elements and the key guiding principles for BITSA and for PARC in working towards this journey. We want to encourage and learn for anybody who wants to start out on a path like this. So Is there anything that you would like to highlight?
So one, the power of the Alumni network, which is very unique and very different from other organizations. Then the core thing has been always keeping the community at the heart, the needs of the community at the heart. That is another. Then solving certain systemic issues and systemic problems which are on the ground, so that those problems do not reoccur again. And the third one is actually engaging the experts and the NGOs, finding the right kind of NGO to collaborate with, and then solve those social and economic issues and that the people are facing. Yeah, so these have been our guiding principles.
Okay, nice. So other than that, I think you've leaned very heavily on the 55,000 plus alumni network and keeping them engaged to volunteer with time and funds. How do you ensure that you get a consistent participation towards this?
So yes, we have a huge alumni to actually touch base with. So the major things that we have been doing as of now is basically to keep them updated about what the activities are, what kind of work we are doing. We have been consistently passing on communication to them, like through our newsletters, through our annual reports, through our social media network as well. That has actually worked out, and then people, they have come back to us, they have shown interest, like we would like to know more about that. So that's how we have been engaging with. Plus we have a student division right now who are engaging with the current batches of the students. So it's an independent body, I would say, and they have a very democratic structure of elections, and then forming a team, and assigning them responsibilities, all those things. So that also, because all the passing students who are passing out of BITS as of now, who are part of our student team, they know about Pilani Atmanirbhar Resource Center, they know about our activities, and they know really, like they know how to be more contributing towards the community. So that's that has been the guiding force, and that has been the main strategies to engage with all of them. Yeah.
So the challenge for any NGO is how to choose the focus area, how to create that balance between impact and the limited means and resources they have. How do you at Park decide your focus area?
So, we have been very clear about this. One thing is that, the idea of giving back to BITS. So it makes it very clear that we will work only around campuses where BITS Pilani is actually associated. That's one part. Second thing is that we have been working in a very, very structured manner. So the first baseline survey was done at the very beginning of the trust. Now we are again, initiating another process of conducting another baseline survey, so which helps us in understanding like what is the need of the community, and that's how it helps us in developing the programs that will be bridging that gap. That's the purpose, and that's how we actually work.
All right. So when you do decide your projects that you would be taking up, how do you identify your partner NGOs? Because that is another very challenging and critical aspect of delivering any project. What are your key considerations in identifying a good fit to work with?
So, one thing, after the need assessment is done and after we know like what are the projects that we have to implement, we certainly look at what kind of organizations are already existing and working in those areas. One. Second thing is to understand how impactful their programs have been. So we have developed a framework which helps us in identifying the right NGO. One very important aspect that we actually look at is that the NGO must be working in Rajasthan, because Rajasthan community is very different from Delhi and then other states. So the challenges are also very different. So another NGO should have some exposure of working in Rajasthan, expertise in the programs that we want to implement, and then what are their financial viability, what kind of resources they are already having. So plus there are some NGOs which don't have that kind of resources also, like then in that case we help them in raising funds. That's how we collaborate. And another thing is that when we discuss with the NGOs, we also try to understand like whether they are having some sort of interest in Pilani as a community, right? So unless and until there is some interest of development in that region, we will not go ahead with that partnership. That's how it is.
Okay, a lot of valuable inputs there, and it is quite interesting to know that you have developed a framework and that you approach this in a very planned manner as well, which is actually a testament to how far Park has come, and today it stands at such a great vantage point to make ever increasing impact on the community around. Now going forward, we would love to know what is your vision for the BITSA Alumni Trust and for Park in the years to come?
In the years to come, our initial projects have been very closely, working only around within the 5 to 12 kilometers radius. We would like to expand the radius of the projects, and that baseline assessment is a step forward in this respect. So we are right now conducting baseline survey for around 60 villages, which are closely knit together, and while they fall in the same governance structure. Second thing is to how to create noise about the work that BITSA Alumni Trust has done, and how to tell other communities, other universities about the model that we have developed. That's another thing and aspect that we are looking into. Right now our focus has been on education, healthcare, and then livelihood, etc. And we want sustainable projects to be there, and we want this community to be developed in a much more rigorous manner. Yeah, that's how we view it right now. Yes.
Love your vision and all the best to you for this.
Thank you so much, Pooja.
So Jaswant, tell us a little bit about your BITSA journey. What have been some of the biggest challenges, and what are the changes you plan to bring in the long and the short run?
So my journey so far with BITSA has been really fruitful, I would say. I am working with the best brains of the country, one thing, which makes all the more all the more interesting and all the more learning for me. And we have been thinking of expanding our activities so far. The biggest challenges that we face is basically location specific, because Pilani is, as I mentioned earlier also, Pilani is not on the map of the corporates for CSR, and that makes really difficult and challenging for us to raise funds from outside of the alumni network, while alumni is itself huge, and but they have their own priorities as well. Plus the another challenge is to find the right kind of talent for the NGO and to retain them as well. So because Pilani is an area which is, as I mentioned, it's a border region. So people, they are not very interested to work over there. A lot of facilities are not available, which are otherwise available in other areas like Delhi. Even in healthcare also, things are not as up to the mark as in other areas. Yeah. So these are the biggest challenges we are facing right now.
Okay. And in terms of your unique experience, having worked in Delhi with Dipale, education-based, child-centric NGO, where you spent over 7 years, now having moved to Pilani, a small town with an alumni-driven trust. How different is the experience, and how different is it in terms of the operations and the challenges that you face?
So my Dipale experience has been very unique, I would say. Both the experiences are unique. One, Dipale has been working in the core urban regions. Some of the operations were there in rural areas of New district. So the thing is that in Delhi, whether in Delhi or whether in the NCR region, like in New or other areas, the government also had a lot of attention towards these development issues, and there was never a problem of raising funds. While Pilani is, as I mentioned, is not on the map of many corporates, as far as CSR funding is concerned, and that's where the challenge is. That's where the issue is, that we have to work very closely with the alumni to get our programs funded, and it becomes a big challenge for us. Yeah.
So, if you would reflect on it, why do you think there is such a huge difference in terms of funding? Is it to do with the location of the NGO, like you mentioned, because Pilani is not on the map of a lot of organizations, and or is it because of the kind of causes that the two different NGOs work on? Or is there some other reason that is, making it a bigger challenge to procure funding for park?
So it's only because of the location, because many of the corporates, they are interested to implement projects in the close proximity of their factories and their offices. That's the basic challenge. As far as projects and programs are concerned, I think they very well align with the Schedule 6 of the Companies Act, and I don't think so that's a challenge. Yeah.
Okay. So presently, what are some of the big projects that Park is working on, and would you like to share about something that you're excited about?
So yeah, I am really excited to have two projects at least which are very close to my heart. One is a project on developing, girl leadership amongst girls who are studying in government schools in class 12. It's a fellowship program, 1-year fellowship program, where girls will be taught several things to face because they face unique challenges as compared to the boys. We will be developing their skills, making them more resilient, helping them in convincing their parents if they want to pursue their dreams further. That's one program. It will be implemented in collaboration with a Delhi-based organization called Udayan Care. Second program is basically about revamping the entire ITI system, ecosystem, because students from the low socioeconomic background, they don't they don't have funds to afford higher education. They actually want that they should get a skill and they should get employment. But our current ITI ecosystem is not working the way it should. So we are still the students are still taught very outdated syllabus. So this project actually wants to revamp the entire curriculum, introduce new age skills in the ITI ecosystem, help them in getting jobs, and at the same time we also want the alumni to enroll in work integrated learning programs, where they will continuously learn. They will have their bachelor's degree completed while they are working, and this will help in developing a long-term career path as well.
Okay, so now I would just like to ask you, if based on your immense and varied experience, if you would like to share some learning or message with our viewers.
So the message I would like to share is that when we think of alumni, it's basically a network or a group of people who have graduated from one school or a college. That's how we think that. But largely what I have seen as far as my experience is concerned, the energy and the strength that lies in this network has not been harnessed. And I feel that BITSA's story is unique in that aspect, and it should be replicated across other universities and colleges, where they should think like how the power of this alumni network can be used for solving problems of the community surrounding the universities and the colleges. Yeah.
Sure, more power to the alumni networks, and kudos to you for taking this work and word ahead. And thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to talk to you and have our viewers learn from your experiences.
So thank you so much, Pooja. It was really nice interacting with you. This conversation was really very close to my heart, and I was looking forward to it. And I really thank India is Us as well, who has given us this opportunity to present BITSA Alumni Network to the larger public. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank our venue sponsor, Crystal Hughes, and our gifting partner, Harmony Overseas.